All right, welcome to NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode is on the Houston Texans. I am joined by Figgy Fig from the Gems and Juice podcast and also on Sports Radio 610 in the Loop. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. It's a good day to be in Houston, man. We got the new head coach, and I think everybody excited, man. It's a different feeling this year.
I tell you, yeah, it's definitely been interesting to kind of watch the last couple of years from the outside and just see how things have gone. Let's kind of peel back a little bit and just look at this season, and then we'll go into the coach. I definitely want to get into Lovie Smith, being a Bears fan, but talk about this season, and what your expectations were maybe going into it, and kind of what it ended up happening.
This season, the 2021 season, we kind of knew it was going to be rough.
Yeah.
So, you had the Deshaun Watson situation before the other situation happened. And then, they hired some guy we never heard of named David Culley. So from that point on, I'm like, okay, it's about to be a rocky season.
They kind of put him in a difficult position, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
It was, he came in, while the building was on fire.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I knew it was going to be rough. And yes, it was pretty rough. A lot of people thought they was going to be the worst team in the league, but they weren't even the worst team in their division. So I do kind of give them a pat on the back for that. But it was a long season, man. It was very long. It was weird. And this was probably one of the worst Texans season in franchise history.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a Bears fan too, I didn't expect much, but you still want to see some progress in some, wins and losses, and things were kind of up and down, and with the Texans, you have Davis Mills, come in and he performed pretty well. Is he, someone that you can maybe look for as a franchise quarterback, or is he just kind of that, average, I don't know, Andy Dalton type quarterback, or what are you, looking for from Davis?
I think at this point, you just need somebody to be consistent, man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to be a franchise quarterback. I'm not even sure if he's going to be Andy Dalton.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Yeah, but we actually watched him during training camp. And it was really bad. I'm like, man, I don't even know if this guy need to step on the field.
Wow, yeah.
But Tyrod Taylor got hurt and he had to step in, and he had some rough games. But towards the end of the season, he did show improvement. It showed that maybe he could be a starter in this league if he have the right pieces around him. He got a little more comfortable, and not to mention, the offense they was running was the same offense from Bill O'Brien, pretty much. You had Tim Kelly as the play caller. Right. So I'm sure, now they got Pep Hamilton as the play caller, as the offensive coordinator. So I'm sure they're going to work on some things, and I think he's going to get a little more comfortable. But as far as franchise quarterback, I'm not quite sure yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fair. I mean, and actually, you brought up Pep Hamilton. He was definitely one that, as a Bears fan, I would have enjoyed having him as the offensive coordinator. And, I mean, I think there's bright things for him in the future. And hopefully for Davis, that can be, obviously with the quarterback situation being important, but definitely, something that is, you're really not sure of, for quite a while here. Hopefully that can be, a building block. But I wanted to back up as well. Tyrod Taylor, he's really kind of gotten the short end of the stick in a lot of different places. What happened to him in when he came back? Was he just not the same player? Is he just not gonna be as explosive, or what happened to him this year?
He just wasn't the same player, because the first two games he would, I want to throw out MVP, but he was looking really good, man. And I think if he never got hurt in that Browns game, which was the second game, I think they had a chance to knock off the Browns. They kind of had him on their heels a little bit.
Yeah.
So once he, hurt his hammy, then he wasn't the same, man. I'm not sure if, the hamstring was the problem, but he just looked so bad where you was kind of forced to put in Davis Mills, even though I don't think they wanted to put him in yet.
Yeah, it's interesting as fans. We can kind of sit back and kind of ask what happened, but obviously injuries do play a part. And I wonder if psychologically too. I can't imagine what he went through in with the Chargers, and then in Buffalo as well. Like
Yeah,
if it,
Browns.
right,
Yeah. Yeah. He got hurt in Cleveland, and that's when the Baker Mayfield show started.
right. So, obviously the quarterback is important, when you look at, that, obviously if Davis Mills is the answer, that could be a good thing. Maybe they draft someone, in the future, maybe not this year, but also a really important piece. And as we know in Chicago is the head coach. And now you have a head coach that I'm familiar with, Lovie Smith. Talk about maybe your excitement. And the team's excitement, and then just the process. It was kind of like a disjointed process to get there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was super strange, man, because the Texans throughout this whole process, they've been announcing who they interviewed. So, we seen people like Joe Labardi, Hines Ward, we
Yeah.
had all type of different random names. And the finalists were, Brian Flores, who was I'm blanking on the other guy. Josh McCown.
Yeah.
And yeah, I forgot who the other candidate was. Gannon from Philly.
Right.
So, we thought it was going we all thought it was going to be Josh McCown.
Right, which is so weird. Weird.
They interviewed the guy twice this year. They interviewed him last year, so we thought it was going to be him. And so once the Brian Flores lawsuit happened, then stuff started taking a little longer. And then all of a sudden it was Sunday night where it was like, oh, Lovie Smith, he's in the running. It's like, what? Like, we haven't heard his name at all. The only time we brought up Lovie was, is he going to stay on this staff with whoever get hired?
And I believe he was a part of all the interviews as well, wasn't he?
Apparently, yeah. I guess he was giving a lot of feedback on the interviews. And I guess they said, hey, maybe you could be the head coach. So, but I didn't like the process. I ain't like how it went down, but I'm actually super excited about Lovie Smith, man. He's a well-respected guy.
He is, yep.
He actually, I know the numbers say the defense wasn't that good last year, but the defense got a lot of turnovers, a lot compared from last season. And I think he's going to be a good coach, man. He sold me on the press conference, and I think he sold a lot of this city. A lot of, it's a different feeling from what it was when David Culley had his press conference, because last year it was more, we were kind of scratching our heads, and, we knew David Culley wasn't going to be good. But this year, a lot of people like, maybe we could do something.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the defense being down. Obviously, a lot of that's on the players as well. You can scheme as much as you want, but you have to have the players. And I'm excited for Lovie. It didn't quite end the way it should have in Chicago. He kind of got a raw deal there, and so I like Lovie. Always have his defense. The only thing I can't get used to is the Santa Claus beard.
I think a lot of people I actually like the beard, because I haven't seen a head coach with that type of beard, So I kind of like it. It kind of making him look like the OG.
Yeah.
So I'm digging the beard. I think a lot of fans here are digging the beard as well.
I tell you what, I think he can definitely, really bring the players together. Definitely was a great players coach in Chicago, and I think it really seems that's what Houston needs with all of the kind of distractions. Someone to really bring the team together.
Yeah, I agree, and sometimes I always play the what if, or if this would have happened. I wonder how things would be if Lovie Smith was the head coach last year. If they didn't hire David Culley, if they just went with, if they got in Lovie Smith, I wonder how things would be, because a lot of the problems last year was due to David Culley's mistakes on the field, with when to use a timeout and all this other stuff, game management. And I wonder if things would be a little different, a little more tied down if Lovey was the coach last year.
So yeah, I mean, kind of talking obviously, his clock management, that's a big thing. Is
Mhm.
that something that, the general manager should kind of know going in when you're hiring somebody? I mean, uh, so I, what are your thoughts on kind of Nick Casario and kind of his job and just identifying, obviously there are some coaches that are great coaches but maybe aren't head coach material, and obviously Lovey has proved that he can do it. He's been there. David Culley hadn't done that before. Just talk about kind of maybe what Nick Casario's job in identifying that head coach.
Well, I think Nick Casario, I think he messed up on the first hire.
Yeah.
I know a lot of I know when he became the GM for the Houston Texans, they were in a bad place where I don't think they could attract sexy head
True.
coaches. So I'm sure he had to settle, but this was kind of way out there. This was like settling for Josh McCown, somebody with no
Yes.
experience at all. But anyway, I think it's a weird process because Nick Casario, he came from New England, and he been on the headset with Bill Belichick for years.
Yeah.
So that's so now he's in Houston, and it's still kind of that process of him being in the headset. So David Culley one day he mentioned in a press conference how, hey, I talked to Nick, I talked to Romeo Crennel, and this was like during the game, and it's like, whoa, so all of y'all on the
Wow.
headset. So I'm not sure if he was sitting there trying to tell him what to do, or
Wow.
I'm not quite sure how that went. And like I said, David Culley was never a head coach, and clearly he was messing up at a lot of places. So maybe they were trying to tell him to do something and he didn't do it. So I'm not sure how that, how that all went down. But I think Nick Casario, I think he definitely screwed up on the, hiring him. But Nick Casario was pretty good, with the draft he had. So he started in the third round. He got Davis Mills, and Davis Mills looked okay. And he got a lot of raw talent that could do something this year. So I'm not the Casario truther, but I'm not saying he need to go yet. But I do think I'm not mad at you if you feel like he's not really doing anything at this moment. But this is his first full draft coming up, so we'll see what he do.
Yeah, it's always interesting with a general manager. It's almost, like an umpire in baseball. If you're not hearing their name, they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then they trust the people under them, and that's why I'm excited this year for my Bears. Because they chose the right general manager, and now they've got a coach. Hopefully, the coach can do well, but they've got a team in place. More. I don't know. It's just a better structure, and you want to trust the people that you hire to do their jobs, not have to. It sounds like get on the intercom in the middle of the game.
Yeah. So, and to be fair, that's how he kind of did in New England. So,
Yeah.
So maybe that could be a thing. I'm not sure how it's going to be with Lovey because Lovey is a way more experienced coach.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I think that's how they did in New England, where they kind of come together as a group and come up with decisions as a team. So maybe he could continue doing that, but I think that's just the way I guess the Patriot way.
Which is so interesting because I mean that has proved to not work anywhere. And I mean you know that Houston with Bill O'Brien and he really kind of left a mess there as well, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a big mess, and so that's why I think some people are giving Casario a pass because his first year he didn't have any. He damn near had no draft picks, and that all of those draft picks that was missing was due to the Laramie Tunsil trade, which was a crazy trade. And Casario, I think he did a good job getting rid of the bad contracts. He made it do what it do with the draft picks. So yeah, I think this year Casario will be judged because with the head coach and the draft picks.
Well, let's kind of go into that kind of, going into 2022. I mean, the running back room, you've got Rex Burkhead who seemed to kind of, have a decent, season. Is he the guy, or where do you see this running back room going for 2022 and beyond?
They need to. It was rough. That was one of the
Yeah.
roughest parts of the season, was watching the running backs. They probably had the oldest running back committee in
Mhm.
history, man. So
Yeah.
I think I don't think Rex is the guy at all. I think I did think I want to say they signed him to an extension. It might have been Danny, or no. You know, it was Rex. They signed him to an extension. So
Mhm.
a lot of people's kind of up in arms, but I don't think he's gonna be the guy. But they do need to bring in a fresh running back. They need to draft some running backs and start fresh, because David Johnson, he was not it. And we had Mark Ingram, and they
Mhm.
ended up trading him back to New Orleans. But they definitely need, some fresh new running backs. I don't think Rex is the guy, but he's a Patriot guy, and I think he could. Help at some point. But they need a fresh running back that can go all three downs.
To be the bell cow. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and kind of looking at the other group as well, like the wide receivers. I mean, where do you see this group going as well?
I kind of like the receiver group so far. You still got Brandon Cooks,
Yeah.
and you got a young Nico Collins who
Mhm.
start building a little something with Davis Mills. So I do think they, when it comes to this draft and free agency, they definitely need to bring in some more players. But Nico Collins looks really good. And I think he actually started catching on towards the end of the season. So I'm super excited to see what Nico could do. And Brandon Cooks is Brandon Cooks.
Mhm.
He's that target that every QB trusts. And I think Davis Mills trusts Brandon Cooks a lot. So I think they could definitely do something with that. The other people in the wide receiver group, I think, it's kind of a toss up. I
Mhm.
think, you can't go wrong bringing in more receivers and draft and maybe drafting some, but I think it's on the come up.
Yeah, is Nico, is he more of a slot, or where does he kind of fit?
I think he more of an outsider, man.
Okay. Okay.
He got that big body. He kind of remind me of a little of Josh Gordon with,
Oh, okay.
kind of a big body.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he came from Michigan. So I think he gonna do it. I think he gonna do some things this year. I think that's somebody that actually slid in the draft. So a lot of people shocked that they even got him. So yeah, that was one of the pickups from Nick that kind of came out pretty good that people might be excited about. And then another name I want to throw at you is Brevin Jordan, who's a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's somebody who kind of slid down in the draft too. So Nick, he did his thing with some players in the draft. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, so really offensively, there is a good young core outside of a, running back, so I mean, really, when you talk of receivers and quarterbacks, and that could be something good for Davis Mills to really develop.
Yeah, I agree. And I think he need all the help. He really need a running game, but he gonna need all the help he can for them to have some type of success for him.
Absolutely. And on the other side of the ball, are there any key needs in that you see, and maybe what the strengths are now?
I would say throw a dart
Yeah,
and pick
yeah.
whatever they need, man. The defense, they what they did last year, they signed a lot of veterans on 1-year deals.
Mhm.
So you had, the Christian Kirksey's, you had the Kame Grugier Hill,
Mhm.
you had players like that who, had a pretty good season. But honestly, man, they need help everywhere. They need cornerbacks. They need they might need a safety. Justin Reed might be gone. You need some help on the line, on the defensive line. You need some more linebacker. Like I'm not kidding you. I think they need some of everything. So I wouldn't even focus on one thing. I think they need some help everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do you see then, I mean, them starting in the draft? I mean, when you have, all those needs, what is kind of the target that you see?
I think with Lovey being a defensive guy, I could see them going with a defensive guy first. If they
Mhm,
don't trade this pick, I could see them going with maybe Thibodeau.
mhm,
I'm guessing it looked like he might be there at 3,
mhm.
but I could see them going defense at this point. But it's really no wrong answer for the Houston Texans. I think anybody at that point they just need to go get.
Have you heard then talk that they might look at trading it or?
Nick Casario, he was actually on our station earlier today, and he
Mhm,
mentioned how he haven't really got any calls, but it's still early in the process. So probably when it comes to maybe March, he might start getting a couple phone calls. But it's really tough because you really don't have that quarterback in this draft that will
mhm.
go so high. So you really don't see anybody trading up for a safety or trading up for an offensive lineman or something like that. So it might be tough to get out of that 3 spot, but you never know. You see the draft how somebody can skyrocket out of nowhere, and if you got somebody in that top 3 and another team want that person, then you open for business.
Hey, yeah, Ryan Pace is not a general manager, so no one's trading up to 2 to get a quarterback now. So,
Whew, man.
yeah, that was a mess. That was, yeah, and it is interesting. You talked about Nick Casario. What is kind of the vibe around him? Like, is he kind of one of those general managers is an open book, or does he kind of like just kind of give you in the media answers that doesn't really say much or
Yeah, you gotta remember Nick Casario is a New England guy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he talks more than Bill Belichick, but sometimes he give you a long answer and you walk away like, what did he answer the question? And so sometimes he really don't answer the question, but he give
Hmm.
you a nice long answer of
Hmm.
stuff like, oh, we got to progress the information, we got to look at everything, and it's like he ain't really answer. But he's as far as him being an open book, he's very cool. He's down to earth. But when you get to the nitty gritty, he give you a long answer, and it's like, oh, I ain't really come away with anything from this. But I could tell, it's his second year, and I could tell he's getting a little comfortable now.
Hmm.
So I think he's doing it the way he want to do it. A lot of people feel like, oh, the Patriots way, but I really don't see him doing anything the Patriots way like in the past
Hmm.
because I covered the Cleveland Browns early on, and they had their way where they tried to go the Patriots way, and it didn't. Of course, it didn't work.
Hmm.
And I seen other teams try to do that Patriots way stuff, and it didn't work.
Hmm.
But this way, the way Casario is running everything, it haven't really been Patriots way. Lovie Smith is not a Patriots guy,
Hmm.
and he rolled the dice on Lovie Smith, and a lot of players he brung in, it wasn't clear Patriots guys. So I think he trying to find his way. Obviously, some stuff he gonna do is Patriots because he been there for 20 plus years.
Hmm.
But I think he trying to find his own way to do things.
Yeah, it is interesting. You get, you know, people who have been in a certain organization, and obviously, with the Bears, we had Ryan Pace, and so that was the interesting thing about when they went with you know another Chiefs guy for general manager, but just listening to him in a press conference, he's actually a football guy and not, he seemed to actually, give answers that he, has that authority, that direction that Ryan Pace didn't. So it is nice, in the media or as fans to at least get something from the, leadership to kind of know, okay, well, this is direction, we can, trust. And, obviously we know as, NFL owners, they're gonna, kind of do what they want, whether it's, picking, whatever, because there's really not as much accountability. We kind of know that from owners.
Yeah.
And so my question then on that is, do you trust then the ownership of the Texans to really make enough change and turn it into a winning culture there?
Man, I can't even lie to you, man. It's hard to trust the ownership,
Yeah.
man. And look, I'm not the person that's saying, "Hey, Kyle, you need to sell the team." But I'm not mad at people who feel that way.
And there is someone at the that does that, right?
Yeah. It's like this. It's been crazy this season, with certain fans going to the stadium with the sell the team, Cal, or fire Easterby posters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But right now, it's hard to trust the ownership, man, because just some of the decisions they made. It's like, why are we doing this? Because remember back in 2018, you had Deshaun Watson, you had DeAndre Hopkins, you had a lot of people, and it just
in their playoffs in
the playoffs, we was up 24-0 against the Chiefs, who eventually won the Super Bowl, and you just kind of threw it out. And so whenever the owner speaks, he say, "Hey, we all about winning." And it's like you gotta do something. And I think the black hole in this organization now is Jack Easterby, and so he was aligned with Bill O'Brien.
Oh wow!
And
yeah.
you know how it is when you fire a GM, a coach, you clean house.
Yep, you have to.
And,
yep.
Yeah, and they didn't clean house. They kept him around, and they kind of hit him a little bit. And it's like, man, this guy over here have all of this power, and he's clearly affecting things. And it's clear that a lot of coaches or potential coaches don't want to go there because of him. And it's like, you look at the owners like, what is you doing? Like this guy, this guy's not doing his job right. You gotta let him go. And I think that's where a lot of fans are not really trusting the ownership. If you really want to win, you gotta get rid of everything and start fresh. And no disrespect, Kyle didn't do that. So I think
go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans, have the right to not trust this team right now.
Well, yeah, I know that all too well. The Bears, with Ted Phillips and just the owners. I mean, they had the press conference and we're like, we're not football guys, but we're going to make the decisions. And it's so interesting. I mean, you have to get people in there that are actually going to, hold people accountable and know what they're talking about and actually want to win. And and I totally get it. As a businessman, as an owner, I mean, they have to be making money hand over fist at the NFL. People are going to watch regardless. And that was, the biggest thing with the Bears is holding on to, well, it's a banner franchise. So, people want to come here. Well, no, if it's not, if the organization is not right, then the leadership is not right. People will not want to come.
Exactly. It's kind of like when you look at the NBA, how the Knicks used to be the place where, every superstar want to come to the Knicks. It's not the case. And that same thing with the Lakers. It got to the point where a lot of people didn't want to go there, and they rather go to these smaller markets and and win there instead of going to a New York Knicks team and is not doing anything and ownership and all that stuff. So I totally understand that.
Absolutely. And so let's go to obviously the elephant in the room. I said Deshaun, the elephant in the room, Watson, right? Just a talented player. I mean, he was having issues, with the ownership even before all this stuff happened. I mean, where does this kind of, end as far as, obviously he's not going to be a Texan, right?
Right. Yeah. That's totally gone. I think the thing is, I'm glad they didn't trade him now or back then because, all the stuff that's going on, and they wasn't going to get all what they wanted for him.
Right.
But I think both of the sides have moved on. Deshaun, he didn't play a snap, and I think he could have played.
Oh yeah.
But he chose not. He chose to sit out, and I think he moved on. And I think the Houston Texans, they realized that, hey, we got to, that relationship is over. So we got to move on from him.
So I wondered, I totally wondered, if Flores had taken the job, if he would have talked him into that. But obviously, he just needs a fresh start somewhere, doesn't he?
That's been my thing the whole time, because a lot of fans, when Flores was in the running to be the coach, and a lot of people was like, oh, he wanted to play with Flores in Miami, so maybe he could come back.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at all the stuff Deshaun Watson been through with the legal stuff, I would want a fresh start, because this city, all the stuff that's going on in the city, I would just want to get out and just go somewhere new, go to a new ownership, new players, and just start fresh.
And do you know, are you hearing kind of what they're still kind of asking for him now? Multiple number ones, or what are they looking for?
The one thing I keep hearing is 3 1s and 2 2s, which sound kind of short, and maybe a couple young players.
Yeah,
but you never know. If it's draft night and somebody need a quarterback, they might get maybe 3 1s and 3 2s or something like that.
Yeah.
So you never know, but I think the 3 1s and 3 2 or 2 2s is kind of the starting point.
It's interesting, obviously we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, most certainly he'll have some type of suspension, right?
I'm not sure about that, man. I'm not sure about that. I think once, it's hard to tell when the case is still going on.
Yeah.
But it's right now, it's only civil, it's no criminal. So I'm not sure. Yeah. And plus he sat out all last season.
Right.
So they might look at that and say, you know what, you good as long as you settle these cases and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he even get anything since he didn't play last year. But I wouldn't be surprised if he get nothing.
Yeah, it's such an interesting case, and so I do have a question. I have my first of my overreaction statements. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, overreaction. Deshaun Watson will lead another team to the Super Bowl.
I think he will, man. I think he will. I think he could have here in Houston, man.
Mm-hmm.
He had the right team around him. I think the problem with him was the coaching.
Yeah.
And if they would have had a better offensive coach there, I think they could have been as scary as the Chiefs. But I think if he go to the right situation, I think his talent alone can help that. And if he had the right offensive coordinator, offensive coach, I think he can.
Do you think the year off will kind of hurt him at all?
Do what?
Do you think the year off, having been off a year, that'll hurt him at all?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because remember he only 25. I think he just turned 25. So I think he still got a lot left in the tank. And I don't even think he reached his peak.
Yeah.
But I don't think it hurt him at all.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that and it seemed like he kind of, and I don't know, what the Houston media thought, but it seemed like he kind of did the right thing he was practicing with the team as much as he could, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think it was there, so he don't get fined and all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think, honestly, I think a lot of Texans fans are just done with it.
Yeah.
They want to move on. They know he's not coming back. And a lot of fans actually turned on him. They feel like he quit on the team, and and then with the allegations coming out, a lot of people just done with it. And honestly, I have nothing against him at all, but I'm kind of over it too, because it's like you said you want out, you don't want to play again for this team. So now I'm ready to flip that book, get that book out of here, start a fresh book.
Hey, I'm up here in Wisconsin too, so I hear that on Rogers too. Like, I think people are just ready to know what the next thing's going to happen and just, move on, because you want to be able to, plan for the future and as a fan, kind of know, if quarterback's in, you want him to be all in.
Exactly. And I felt the same way, being in Cleveland after LeBron, won that first championship. And then it was the last year where people were like, oh, he going to the Lakers. I was actually fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? You did what you can do. You got the ring. I'm tired of the circus, the media circus talking about, oh, he's looking at houses in Houston, or oh, he enrolled his son in school in LA and, all of that stuff. I was just ready to start fresh, let him go and, start a rebuild.
Absolutely. And, looking at obviously with the rebuild with the Texans, I have another overreaction statement here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Davis Mills will lead the Texans to the Super Bowl.
That is an overreaction. You better be lucky he lead the team to 5 wins at this point.
Yeah.
But yes, that's an overreaction.
It's so interesting. You see all the young quarterbacks, and there are some that just are just off the charts. Obviously with Joe Burrow and that do that. But Davis Mills, he has a ceiling, right? Maybe athleticism is not quite there, or what really is missing from his game? Was it you said it in training camp? It didn't look very good. Was it like accuracy, or what is he missing?
I think the one thing he was really missing was just reps, man, because he came out of college, he came out early. I think he only played maybe 11 games in his whole college career. He didn't play that much. So, so the Houston Texans really drafted a project.
Yeah.
So this, at least Joe Burrow, he had a full season ahead of him. And, name any other quarterback, they had some time to, lead a team. And he only started, I might be giving him too much games. He only started like 11 games.
Yeah.
So now you going into the Houston Texans, in kind of a, bad situation. Mm-hmm. And I think the more he plays, the more he might get better, because once he moved into that starting lineup, he had some bad games, but he got better along, as the season went on.
Yeah.
So I think if he play more, he get comfortable. I think he'd be a decent quarterback.
As a fan base, I think it is, when you have a team, that's not going to win, it is good to kind of, have some patience. I mean, and look at Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to be a great quarterback. There was, he's not going to give him time and, allow him more reps. And I think I did see on NFL Network today, Michael Carter was talking about just, the rookie and how long it takes to, just get the reps and the more games is, it's an experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tough because now we're in a day and age where, a rookie quarterback could just step in and, second year lead you to the Super Bowl. Now, I think Joey Burrow then, set that bar kind of high now.
He did. Well, obviously it helps with Jamar, right?
Yeah, it helps a lot. And I think in the past, when you draft a quarterback, remember back in the day when you draft a quarterback in the first round, you let them sit a whole year and they don't snap at all. So now they're in a position where, these teams expect you to come in and do something. So I think Davis Mills was kind of in a tough position, but I think right now, I think he's with the right team where they're kind of patient with him. In this draft, there's no sexy quarterback to go after. Nope. Where they got to take this new quarterback. So I think they got time to just let him take the year and see what he do and actually evaluate him.
And that could be a good thing too, right? I mean, obviously you said there are a lot of pieces that Houston needs, and history has shown that it's good to have a quarterback on a rookie deal, to do well. And obviously if they're not ready to, really compete for the playoffs, it's better to, just kind of get other pieces. And then when the team's a little bit closer, then to get that guy.
Yep. And plus, like I said, I don't know if he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but you never know. Maybe they found the diamond in the rough. So, give him this year and see what he do. Yeah. And if he's not the answer, then you got Bryce Young coming out next year, and you got the guy from Ohio State.
Stroud, yeah.
So I think this is the perfect time to not have a quarterback or have a guy that you're not sure about, and going into a draft with not so great quarterbacks that's just sitting right there early on.
Well, I have one more reaction statement, and I'm really hoping this is not true, but here we go. Lovie Smith will be fired after next season.
No, I don't believe that. I think he the OG, man. I think he gonna stick around for at least 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm giving him at least 2 years, and I think he gonna have this team together where they're gonna be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
The locker room gonna respect them, so I don't think he gonna pull a David Culley and be out in 1 year.
That's why, yeah. I mean, you want to hope that the general manager. I think it would almost be more of an indictment on Nick Caserio if he would go that route as well, because then it's like, okay, well, you didn't get it right twice, so maybe you should.
2 firings in 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, and like even with coaches, I think it is good to give them time as well. And obviously in Chicago, they're Matt Nagy, he had plenty of time. When you have enough time, you can build, and there's only a certain amount of teams that are going to make the playoffs, but you want to keep building toward that.
Yep, I agree. So I think they're gonna give them a little time until they, I guess, get situated. And you never know. I'm not sure if Lovey want to coach forever. Mm-hmm. Maybe he might bring in Josh McCown as a
interesting
on the staff or something like that, because the Texans had this weird fascination with Josh McCown. So maybe he could kind of groom him into possibly being the head coach, or either move up Pep Hamilton.
Yeah, Pep Hamilton would be a good thing. Good option. Hopefully they don't bring back Fitzmagic.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I would love that. And I think they need a quarterback. They need a backup quarterback, because I don't think they're gonna bring back Tyrod Taylor. So I would love Fitzmagic to be back in Houston.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic. I definitely appreciate your time. Where can everyone find you again?
You can find me on Twitter at the Figgy Fig. I have a podcast called Gems and Juice, where I talk about a lot of hip hop stuff, hip hop entertainment, and we get into some sports as well. And you can find me weekdays on Sports Radio 610 in Houston, on In the Loop with Landry Locker and John Lopez.
Awesome. And is this probably the best Super Bowl halftime show then?
I think so. I think this was the first Super Bowl halftime show where it was strictly hip hop.
Yeah.
Because usually they good for doing the pop stars and stuff like that, or like a rock group. But this is interesting, man. I can't wait to see how it's going to go down, because these are 5 big superstars, and they cramming it into one halftime show.
That's the only thing I worry about too. Like in the past, sometimes they just try to do too much. I think, it seems like, this is a good collaboration though.
Yeah, it is, because if you look at it all, Dr. Dre, he was the beginning of this.
Yeah.
And then he brung in Snoop, and then, he had some connections with Eminem, pretty much discovered Eminem. Mary J. Blige, he was a big part of her career. And Kendrick Lamar. Lamar, he helped him a lot with his career, and they all, outside of Eminem and Mary J. Blige, are from California.
Yeah.
So that's kind of his I guess his resume. I would say hip hop resume, showing like, hey, I started with Snoop. I discovered Eminem. Mary J. Blige, I helped her with her career. And even Kendrick Lamar right now as a recent.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be exciting. I definitely, thanks again. And we'll definitely connect. I'd love to, get your thoughts draft time too. And it's going to be an interesting off season.
Yes, it is. And I can't wait. I think the whole city of Houston are pretty excited, because we haven't had a draft pick early draft pick in a few years. So, the draft party might start a little early this year.
I hear you. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.